Hey, what's up, guys? It's D Brown with Track Headz. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Track Headz. Um, the Olympic trials is finished. The 2024 Olympic trials is done. Hell of a Olympic trials. A lot of people have been asking me for this video, my thoughts, my reactions. I gave you guys a couple of my reactions and thoughts on like the biggest things, the Thing Mo fall. But a lot of things have happened since then, so I'm just gonna go over briefly a lot of the things that caught my eye, just in a conclusion way of wrapping up the 2024 Olympic trials for the United States. Um, man, I don't even know where to start. I guess I can start at the beginning, right? We had Noah Lyles wins the 100 in 9:82 or 9:83 or something like that, I think, to tie his 100-meter PR. The biggest shock beyond that was Christian Coleman not really making, the team. He got fourth place. Fred Curley had them Nikes on. He decided to high step his way over to getting a qualification, for the Olympics, which is kind of crazy. Kenny Bednarek went in there, snatched some hardware as well, got second place overall. Was really, really close in those final stages of the 100, in the 80, 90s, and 100s. More detailed wise, I watched Christian Coleman's race, and I watched it again and again and again. He did a really good job. He did a really good job in his 100, specifically in the prelims and semifinals. Semifinals was like a really good time. He went 9:86 and did really well, but I don't know what happened to him in the finals. He was leading at 60 and 70, and then I think his race distribution was just not the best, specifically for those kind of athletes. The time was cool, but when you're decelerating at such a rapid rate in those last 10 to 15 meters, especially when you're dealing with the likes of like Noah Lyles and Kenny Bednarek, who are 200-meter runners, very strong. Fred Curley, 124 100-meter runner, very strong. He just didn't execute the proper race plan. And I wonder if it's something that he's going to have to change and evolve in as he gets older and he gets more seasoned in terms of just, the next part of his career, because I'm sure he's going to want to come back with a vengeance and show why he's still the best, right? Fast forwarding, we go to the 100-meter women's. We saw Sha'Carri Richardson. I think she ran 10:70. Really masterful in the way that she ran, really 22 100. Her first 10 meters, not so much. She's been doing a lot of sidestepping. A lot of her block starts have been like weird trajectories. But from what I understand and what I look at, she's so freaking strong, it just does not matter. She may have a misstep, but and that misstepped vector force may shoot her in a certain direction. But this young lady, she's like 5'1", 5'5'1", and she's still able to recover and just high step, and her force application in the right spaces, and it was just beautiful running altogether. I mean, from 30 to 100, she's gone. High steps away, she's just gone. Who else got second place? I don't remember who got second place. But she was really the outstanding run. It was a sweep. It was a clean sweep. So we saw both of her teammates really do really well. TT Terry was also the outstanding person, because I really thought Tamari Davis was going to come through and really execute and really get that third position spot, especially after doing so well last year. But TT Terry said, nah, it's my year. And honestly, in the United States, a 10.8 wouldn't make it. A 10.8, it's been a big vacuum in the 100 where you have Sha'Carri Richardson and then you have everyone else. And it's been like separated by 0.2, 0.3. She's running 10.6s, 10.7s, and these other girls are running like 11 or 10.9s and 11 flats, and they're not able to keep up with her. So it's been really interesting to see how they've been able to close the gap, and it's all the young ladies that she trains with. So that was really cool. I saw the 200. I'm not going to do it in any particular order, but the 200 men's was really cool. You saw Noah Lyles. He was able to withstand Kenny Bednarek. Kenny Bednarek was leading for a better part of 180 meters, and then, wasn't able to maintain, that turnover. I think, he may have to influence and change up his race plan when it comes to beating Noah Lyles, because it's literally the race of the finishers. There's not really a lot of guys who are running this like head up, like burn the 150 and see what you're coming home with, other than like Arian Knighton, and he's strong enough to kind of change his race plan. So Noah Lyles did really well. He was able to pull away in those last 10 to 20 meters. Christian Coleman, I was really impressed with him. He seems to have a better race distribution in his 200 than his 100, because, he may not be strong, so he has to pick his spots in which he's able to, do well in the 200, but he ran 19.89 twice. Like, that's impressive. definitely impressive of a feat. And then Arian Knight was able to sneak in there for third place. The women's 200 was even more explosive, I feel like, because you had Sha'Carri Richardson not make the 200, which is a big surprise. You had, Gabby Thomas. She killed her 200. It was really strong coming towards the finish. You had Brittany Brown sneaking there for second. I think she was in lane 9. She did really well. Was able to finish really strong. And then Mackenzie Long snuck in there for third place. That was a really good look because, with her story and how she was able to capitalize on the NCAAs. I think it's always cool to see athletes transition really well from NCAAs to, people say, oh, they're burnt out, they can't handle it. She was able to really make sure that she capitalizes on that 200. So I was really happy to see that. And it also makes it more dangerous for Sha'Carri because even though the 100 meters may be first in the Olympics, she could completely focus on that. Whereas other athletes may not have the luxury in like Jamaica, with Sharika Jackson and stuff like that. So I'm really interested to see how the 200 continues to go. The 400 meters was dope. For the women's side, we got to see that young lady from USC. I forgot her name. But she did really well. She went 49, really outstanding because I know she's been dealing with a lot of woes and issues throughout the years in terms of her finish. Where really she was really known for her finish in the 4x4. So that was really good to see. 400, I don't know what the heck was going on with Michael Norman. Really, really talented dude, but he kind of has the Ryan Benjamin problem that he had last year where he changes up his race plan and maybe doesn't have a concrete race plan before going into his race. So it was really interesting to see how hold on, let me turn on this car. It's starting to get hot. It was really interesting to see how, even though it doesn't matter how talented you are, if you don't have a good race plan, you're not going to do really well. Because when he ran that 400, he's coming through in 20.9 and 32 and some change and not really executing the final part of that run. And for the United States right now, we have a lot of kickers in the likes of like Vernon Norwood. We have Quincy Hall. We have young Quincy Wilson. We have Chris from University of Arkansas. You have all these talented guys who are, really kicking and really making sure in that last 50 meters, if they're anywhere close to you, they're going to snatch your soul. And he makes the mistake of going out too fast. I think he has to make sure hold on one second, guys. There we go. He has to make sure that he's really, really patient on that back stretch, because if he's not able to survive anyone from the United States, he's not going to survive Stephen Gardner. He's not going to survive some of these guys from Great Britain. The Europeans have so many finishers in Doom. He's not going to be able to survive it. Transitioning to the 400-meter hurdles, Ryan Benjamin killed it. Absolutely killed it. 46.4, I believe. He did really well. He was complaining about how his race wasn't perfect. C+, C- in terms of his execution. I think when you're dealing with the likes of the big three, Warholm, Alison DeSantos, Ryan Benjamin, that's probably a wise assessment, because these, we know for sure that, and if you're not dropping a 46.5 or faster, you're probably not going to win the Olympic trials. Pending that it rains or is super cold. So, I think he knows that he's going to have to go to another stratosphere. He's going to have to go to a whole different region of execution in order to really make sure that he does well, because now it's not just Warholm you're dealing with Alison DeSantos, 6'7" Brazilian who doesn't have to worry about peaking and all that stuff. You have Warholm who doesn't have to worry about peaking to make to trials. He's hitting 46. Everyone's running 46. So it was really a game of inches of who's going to run that 45, not high. I think it's going to take like a 45.5, 45.6 to really make sure that you have to be in that kind of shape of execution to really make sure that you kill it. So, he said he hit a couple hurdles on the backstretch. He said that he was able to really magnify and really do well in that last 150, but on the backstretch, you can't lose time, right? You can't lose time, because the same way that you're losing time and maybe hitting 13 steps or not stepping how you're supposed to, or hitting 12 steps instead of 13 steps, Alison DeSantos may be covering that in 12 the whole way around, because he's dude 6'7", right? 6'7", and you have Warholm who's super strong. 400-meter hurdles, women. First of all, shout out to Dalila Muhammad, man. I remember watching her when she was like super young. We were on a track team when we were, young, New York Nova. Shout out to them. Coach Taylor, shout out to y'all. You know, it was so great to see the career that she had. I think she's gonna run a couple more races, but like they said, a lot of people were giving her flowers, which she, deserves. She's been holding down the 400-meter hurdles since 2015, 2016, and it's now 2024, and she had a very lengthy career. She hasn't had any issues off the track, no distractions. She's been just a wonderful representation of what it means to be a track and field athlete. So first and foremost, shout out to her. Sydney McLaughlin went out, man, and broke the world record again. Really a masterful run. I was most impressed with her last hurdle and the way that she was able to clear it without any issues. I mean, you can only do that from practice. I mean, that's not a by chance kind of situation. She went out there and she made sure, like, I can clear this hurdle in a state of fatigue. I mean, and it really just shows, like, I dabbled with the 400-meter hurdles at one point in time in college, and it's not just about hurdling. It's not just about being fast. It has to be both. And she really showed the marriage of being in 48.7 shape or faster, and then bringing that over to, being a really great quality hurdler and saying, hey, what can I do? And having the step plan and having the race plan. And, I mean, she beat that she beat everybody by like a second and a half, which is really crazy. Second and a half or more. Second place was Anna Cockerell, and, she ran 52, which is a quality time. Along with the other USC athlete who did really well from NCAAs as well. So quality run. Shamir Little just missed out, which is unfortunate. But when you have that much depth in the United States, can be really difficult to really bounce back. It's hard to skate with a 53. It's really hard to skate with a 53. So, quality running from all the 400-meter hurdlers. Special shout out to Dalila Muhammad. Let's go over to the 800 meters. So, as you saw with 800-meter women, a thing Mo, she did not make it, but I was really excited to see Nia Atkins, from the Brooks Breast. That was really dope to see because, I follow them real closely, and, sometimes it's cool. I think we're still going to be all right when it comes to having a woman have a chance to medal. I know a thing Mo, she's a phenom. She's like the Sydney McLaughlin of the 800 meters, Olympic champion, world champion, American record holder, I believe, in the 600 and the 800. Like, she's just a total beast, and shout out to her. But I think Nia Atkins, she definitely has the potential to at least bring home some kind of hardware if she keeps her mental focus where it's supposed to be. She's strong enough. I think she's fast enough. No one was even close to her. I mean, it was a bad race overall with the Olympic trials with a lot of people falling, but she had a really quality finish, and she's going to need it dealing with, the likes of Mary Mora, I believe is her name, from Kenya, and a young lady from Great Britain. So it's going to be an interesting race to see how that goes. Then you have the men's 800-meter dash. Big shout out to Brandon Miller. I think it's kind of poetic that, he went over to the Brooks Beast, Brooks Beast, and they were able to both qualify 800-meter runners. And one thing about Brandon, I think that's really interesting is that Brandon has always been a talented athlete in high school, always been a talented athlete in college, has been like really talented, and he kind of showed what kind of shape he was in the indoor season, almost, I think getting the number 2 all time for United States 600, or that maybe in general. He was very close to breaking the world record set by Donovan Brazier. So very fast athlete. But one thing about Brooks Beast is that they really train their athletes to be strong, have a quality base under them, and I think that's what he was missing from other training programs. Not necessarily. I don't know what they do at Bobby Kersey's camp or whatever, but he's always seemed to be missing that extra gear or an extra kick that would enable him to challenge for world medals and would enable him to qualify. And he did qualify, but I mean, he just looked in really good shape. Really good shape. I mean, from running 146 in the prelims, even splitting that, to running 143 in the semifinals, a big surprise. And he kicked to win that. And then, he didn't kick to win that. I think he got second place. Because Hobbs Kessler came up behind him, and then in the finals to have the balls to be like, hey, I can kick from 250 out, and being able to hold this position. I mean, this is the most competitive. There's been a big vacuum for the 800. The women's 800 has been doing great, but Donovan Brazier kind of left a big vacuum in the men's 800. So it's really great to see that vacuum kind of be filled with Brandon Miller and, of course, Bryce Hoppel. And Hobbs Kessler, what the heck? Where did he come from? He's always been a talented athlete, running in the 1500, but for him to drop a 143 is crazy, especially when you're even splitting it like that. I think he probably went like 51. I wish they kind of said, gave us some kind of explanation to Donovan Brazier. What kind of shape is he in? Did he quit track and field? Is he still under surgery? Like, what's his status? Because we've been kind of holding our breath to see if he's going to return, but it seems like he's not. It's only so many years you can just continue that, having your rhythm and having that kind of shape without it just, melting off of you if you're not competing or training, especially if you're injured. So, shout out to Bree Miller, shout out to Bryce Apple. Definitely quality runs. The 110 hurdles, I saw, Grant Holloway killed it, ran 12.86, I believe, into a 2.0, not into a 2.0 tailwind, was pushing them, which is even more impressive because when you're dealing with the wind with 110 meter hurdles, or any hurdles for that matter, it can throw off your rhythm. It can really push you into the hurdle, and you can truly expect to hit some barriers, especially if you get too close to the hurdles or some falls. And no one really fell, which was dope. I think the only person who probably didn't live up to expectation, and no shade, is just Trey Cunningham. I was expecting him to be a little bit more competitive, maybe like 3rd or 4th place. But, you had to have broken 13 seconds to qualify for the 110 hurdles, in the United States. It's starting to reach the competitive level of the 100 meter hurdles for women. So, really, really impressive to see. Really dope to see. I'm really happy with the progress of the 110 meter men, and it's going to be them in Jamaica and a couple strays from different countries to really challenge for these medals. And I really am interested to see how people compete in these Olympics this year. Freddie Crittenden, I believe is his name, and the other athlete that used to run for University of Kentucky, I forgot his name. My apologies, but very talented guys. 12 nines, 12 8s. That was really difficult to really crack into, to get the Olympic trial. So shout out to them. And then finally, you have the 100 meter hurdles, right? So I was probably the most impressed with that because first and foremost, you're talking about, these are the best women in the world, period. Not just the United States, but in the world, period. And you have a bunch of women running 12.2s and 12.3s. It's crazy. The amount of women that were not able to make it, that can easily, I don't say easily, but definitely be ranked top 10 is ridiculous to me. You had Nia Atkins 12.3. You had Kenny 12.3. You had just a bunch of different athletes that were running 12.3 it was clockwork. It was absolute clockwork. It was really dope to see. It was really great to see. I really and thoroughly enjoyed myself. Messiah Russell truly impressed me because I've never seen that level of race distribution in the 100 meter hurdles. I'm not a 100 meter hurdler. I'm a fan of track and field. I'm a coach of track and field, but I literally saw. Usually they say if someone's moving past you, it's because you're slowing down. But I'm literally seeing her running the 100 meter hurdles like a 100 meter dash. How Noah Lyles will run from hurdle 4 to about 8 and 9 and 10, or hurdle 6 to 10. She's absolutely getting into a rhythm and just clicking off and catching bodies. In the final, I want to say she won every single heat. You know what I'm saying? So it was really impressive to see. It was really dope to see that level of athleticism, that level of training. Like she said, she's been running 12.7s and 12.8s, and I could kind of tell she was running on heavy legs. I watch her blog or her vlog at times on YouTube. You could tell she was running on heavy legs from training. I think her coach knows what he's doing, but I'm not sure if he let her off weights. I'm not sure what it was, but she started clicking those 12.2s and 12.3s, and her rhythm has been crazy. Alicia Johnson, the same way. She's very dynamic from hurdle 4 and out. She is gone. But I think from hurdle, for Masai, from hurdle 5 and 6 and out, she just nails. And I think she finally eliminated that problem where I think last year she was probably able to do this kind of stuff, but when she bangs the first hurdle or the second or third hurdle and messes up her momentum, there's not any more, there's no momentum built for her to do that kind of stuff towards the back end of her run. And we also have to remember she was a 400 meter hurdler and was an integral part of the University of Kentucky's 4x4 team. So she has a reserve of strength I don't think people realize, and a reserve of speed endurance I don't think people realize, because the 100-meter hurdles are similar to the 200, and if you're in 4x4 400-meter hurdle shape, that 200 becomes super strong. And you mix that up with technique, and she trains with the indoor world record holder in Devon Charlton, I believe is her name, from the Bahamas. I mean, just killing it. So I can go on and on about what impressed me with the Olympic trials, but I mean, there were just so many things. I wanted to really just keep it with the sprints because that's my wheelhouse. Sprints, 400, 800, I dabble in a little bit. Field events were great. I was really impressed with Valerie and her discus, being able to hit some of those marks. Ryan Krauser, being able to conquer that as well. Women's long jump was really impressive as well. You had one young lady, Tara Davis, I believe is her name, was able to hit 7 meters. You had a couple people that were expected to make it and did not make it. They weren't able to execute in their last jumps, which is unfortunate. But like I said, this is the Olympic trials. It's so competitive in the United States, but it was really, really dope to really see people come through, invest in themselves, compete, and really truly execute the way that they're supposed to. So I'm really happy to see that. And that's my 2 cents on what I saw with the Olympic trials. I'm really looking forward to see how the Olympics go, and and some of I'm going to continue to make future predictions about how some of these athletes are going to continue to run. But I'm really excited with what the Olympics have in store, especially with Jamaica finishing their trials. I'm gonna comment on that soon, but definitely a good look, guys. All right, if you listened this far, I want to thank you guys for listening. This is D Brown with Track Headz. Look out for some future videos. Until then, peace.